Good afternoon, everybody. Hola. That's all I've got. That's all my Spanish. Exhausted in one word. I apologize. Well, thank you all for being here. I'm pretty sure that the title of the session doesn't really do justice to the next hour because we're going to have some special guests join us and we're going to get to make sense of why I'm still wearing my FC Barcelona scarf very shortly. Thank you for being here. So a clear path to your hybrid cloud operating model. Myself, Craig Partridge, I live in the UK, as you may be able to tell from the accent. And I run a global program to engage customers on their digital transformation journey. I'm going to be joined by a colleague of mine, Vedran, in about 10 or 15 minutes as well, and then we're going to get into some really interesting conversations with some special guests. But let me, first of all, give you a quick outline of the agenda for the next hour, keep you entertained and engaged. What I'd like to do for 10 or 15 minutes is kind of introduce you to a framework. So we're here to talk about hybrid cloud operating model, good, but that has to sit in some kind of context. So I'd like to set the context for that, introduce you to a framework that we use to talk about operating models. Vedran's going to take you through a perspective, point of view from HPE about the hybrid cloud operating model, and then we have some very special guests, which is why I'm wearing my Barcelona scarf. So we have Miriam Ferrando. You might have seen her up on main stage with Antonio a little bit earlier on today, alongside colleague Valerie de Fonseca, and we have a panel session for half an hour. So we'll try and make it as engaging and interactive as possible. Okay, so I said I wanted to set some context about a hybrid cloud operating model. June the 11th this year, after a long time spent prior to June the 11th this year, we had some very exciting news to share with the world as HPE and FC Barcelona. So we shared to the world that we were then announced as the global technology leader, becomes the new official edge-to-cloud partner with FC Barcelona for the next 4 years. And obviously, that made a bit of a splash, and we have the great opportunity to spend a little bit more time in this session to understand what does that mean, actually, for FC Barcelona and for HPE. And I'd like to use this as a case study, as an example of the strategic framework that I'd like to introduce you to. So I'm going to set my 10, 15 minutes in the context of the journey that FC Barcelona are undertaking, and specifically around Espai Barça, which is their program of work. Sound good? Okay, good. All right, so let me introduce you to a strategic framework essentially around what the digital enterprise of the future looks like. You'll have heard Antonio on main stage today again saying that the enterprise of the future will be edge-centric, data-driven, and cloud-enabled. And what I spend all my time doing is working with customers to try to interpret those words into something a little bit more meaningful. So what's behind those phrases? So when we talk about the world becoming more edge-centric, what are our customers actually investing in? What are the interconnected agendas which are driving the advancement of the edge? And what we have found across the world is that there are two key agendas when it comes to investing in the edge. The first one is all about connecting to people. So it's all about using technology to engage people in great, new, differentiated experiences. And clearly, that relates very, very strongly to the main principal goal of FC Barcelona and Espai Barça, which is how to enable new fan experiences, how to engage with the community, the broader community here in Barcelona as well. But our customers will say there's more than that when it comes to investing in being more edge-centric, not only investing in creating new experiences, but also in instrumenting and digitizing the physical world around us as well. So you might say connecting to things as opposed to connecting to people. And digitizing the physical world brings all sorts of advancements in the way that we see that world performing, that physical reality performing. And from that data, from that insight, we can then start to return back some level of control into that edge, start to make it behave in the ways that we want to. Just to give you a quick example, in enabling new experiences, it's a very persona-driven, so you really need to be thinking about who that persona is. Certainly in the pandemic, that agenda in the top left-hand corner was the one that got all of the attention and all of the investment. If you think about why digital transformation accelerated so hard during the pandemic, it was because we could no longer meet face-to-face, and so we had to now engage ourselves across digital channels. Who remembers the endless Zoom calls and team calls that we all had to spend time on? Digitizing the physical world, however, brings the space into the picture. And so when you connect those two agendas together, you get some really interesting use cases. And I think intelligent venues and what FC Barcelona are trying to do with Espai Barça is a great demonstration of connecting the physical world together with the fan experience to create even enhanced outcomes and possibilities. So hopefully those two agendas make sense. In FC Barcelona's own words, that's precisely what they're chasing down in Espai Barça, creating a revolutionary experience filled with epic moments. Not my words, the words of FC Barcelona. And so it's a good demonstration that what I'm describing generally applies very specifically here in the case of FC Barcelona. And it goes on to say, intensifying experiences, increasing sensations and emotions, making them more fascinating and memorable, and the new environments, spaces, and assets will generate additional income and remain at the cutting edge of world sport. So it's a great example, that text taken from their own data. It's a great example of those two agendas coming to play, investing in creating great experiences and digitizing the physical world. However, what we found is that investment at the edge needs to be coupled together with investment in the right technology. And our technology partnership has led to deploying Aruba connectivity throughout that stadium experience. And we're looking to increase the way that people connect as they move around and operate in that space, make sure they get a seamless, frictionless connection, and that they're able to enjoy all of the services that can be made available in that space. So a fantastic story at the edge, coupled together with a fantastic story in the cloud. When you hear Antonio say, what does it mean to become cloud-enabled? Again, we found that there was a couple of agendas which are really forcing investment to become more cloud-enabled in organizations. The first, I suppose, is no surprise. It's the platforms agenda. It's the one that IT spend most of their time investing in. It's constantly trying to renovate the core, constantly trying to drive operational efficiency and agility, and be able to provide the kind of platform services back into the business to enable them to exploit those opportunities at their edge. But IT and platforms are not the only conversation in town when it comes to being cloud-enabled. The engineering teams, the application development, engineering new solutions on those cloud platforms are equally an important constituent of becoming cloud-enabled. In fact, many ways, DevOps is a perfect description of the developer and IT operations coming together to drive cloud-enabled strategically inside organizations. And there again, very clear statements from FC Barcelona about staying at the forefront of new technologies. And part of this conversation, we hope, will uncover and unpick some of the technology that went in to helping FC Barcelona become more cloud-enabled, namely HPE GreenLake. And we have a fantastic conversation this afternoon about how and why FC Barcelona chose GreenLake, and specifically private cloud enterprise, to help them stay at the forefront of that technology on the cloud-enabled side. However, the map wouldn't be complete if we weren't considering that what connects the edge to the cloud is that third theme about being more data-driven. Clearly, data is what connects the edge to the cloud in a digital landscape. And here, they're operating an enormous space. You can only imagine the amount of data that's being created on any one day. 103,000 seats that can host 105,000 fans in that stadium, 250,000 square meters. I hope I'm going to say this right, 18,000 square meters of photovoltaic, round of applause, panels on the roof, and 360-degree screens. Huge amounts of digital infrastructure, huge amounts of connected environments, generating enormous space, enormous amounts of data that can then be driven into the fan experience inside that stadium. So data is really key. However, data is no good on its own. We need intelligence from the data. So when we unpack data-driven, we'll find two core agendas at play. One is investing in getting intelligence from that data. I don't need more data, I need more insight, is typically the phrase that we'll hear. Clearly, artificial intelligence is at the frontier now of pushing that agenda further and further forward. But also, I must be trusted with that data. Imagine an FC Barcelona fan that engages with the club digitally and therefore shares data. Imagine if they couldn't trust FC Barcelona with that data. What are you going to do with that data? How are you going to use that data? Are you being transparent about how you use that data? And so trust is a really, and I use the word trust deliberately above security. Clearly, security plays in to that agenda, but it's much, much more than just cyber resiliency or cyber defense. It's my ability to be transparent, even to be ethical with the way that I use your data. Increasingly, your ability to be trusted will come down to your ability to be ethical in the way that you use data. And again, we see clear ambition from FC Barcelona. The ability to use intelligence to start driving personalized experiences. Imagine that. You're one of 105,000 people in that stadium, and yet they're going to treat you as an individual and offer personalized services. That's only possible by mining that data for intelligence. And then, of course, helping them establish a common zero trust foundation. Part of the Aruba investment is going to continue to drive a zero trust response. At that kind of scale, zero trust is the only reasonable approach to the threat. And then there's a missing piece of the jigsaw, last piece I'll talk about, and it's the reason we're in the room, is all of this technology sounds great, but if we don't change the way that people actually use the technology, if we don't change the operating model, if we never improve the processes, if we never bring the people alongside with us, if we never invest in their skills, if we don't change the behaviors, and in many cases the mindset, we'll never get the full value from that technology. So it's the operating model that comes under enormous constraint. In fact, in our framework, it's the one that sits right at the center of this conversation. Each of these agendas interact with each other at all times. And by the way, to be clear, every agenda is at play all the time. And in most organizations, it's simply the amount of pressure that they're all forcing into the operating model, which becomes the constraint or the throttle on progress. There's only so much I can change at any point in time. So all of these agendas asking new things of the operating model to act in more trusted, intelligent ways, asking them to engage people and things at the edge, asking them to constantly renovate the core and provide new services to our engineering development teams. It's a constant battle. It's why we feel like we're always living in a period of change and transformation. It never seems to let up. These things are constantly at play. Does that make sense so far? Well, I see a few nodding and one yes. Thank you very much. Okay, good. So to expand and give context to what we mean by that central piece, let me welcome my colleague, Vedran, to the stage.
Hello, everyone. As Craig introduced me, I'm Vedran Podobnik. I'm globally leading all advisory and professional services practices for HPE, which includes hybrid cloud practice that we will talk a little bit more about today. So I want to start with contextualization, what Craig was sharing specifically for hybrid cloud. And to start with, when we say hybrid cloud, what hybrid cloud actually is. And reality is that hybrid cloud is complex, is very, very complex. And the reasons why it's complex is on the slide behind me. If you take a look at top-down view, you have the blend of different workloads. We are still running a lot of legacy workloads, traditional workloads, which were potentially written by programmers 30, 40 years ago. And we are trying to migrate them, modernize them, move them towards cloud-native architectures. And each year, all of you together working with HP, hopefully, and other companies who can help you, we are progressing towards having more and more workloads in modern cloud-native architectures. And then we are all witnessing in the last 2-3 years the huge explosion of AI and AI workloads. And the reality is that all those 3 types of the workloads are very, very different from the perspective of requirements they have for the platforms. So it's complex from that perspective. It's also complex bottom-up. If you take a look at where those workloads actually are running, where they are being executed. We started to introduce the concept of the smart stadium, and we are going to talk about this a little bit later. In smart stadium, you have hundreds of different locations, which we call edge locations, where different workloads are being executed. Then you have the usual place where workloads were running 10, 20 years ago, private data centers. You have different co-locations. You have public clouds. So all this, if you combine all those diversity of locations where workloads are and platforms are running and different types of the workloads, this is hybrid cloud. And this is why it's complex. And then what is the role of HP? The role of HP is to simplify for end users, for our customers. And how we do this? We are going to talk a little bit more about that through HP GreenLake. HP GreenLake, this is not a product, this is the solution. This is the approach. This is the framework. This is the methodology. And what we are going to talk today about, and give the example of SPI Barca project, is how this helped, in a specific example, to simplify hybrid cloud, to simplify the outcome for FC Barcelona. So from that perspective, also what is important to understand is that all the customers have the similar challenge, but the journey to reach the outcome is different. And how we in HP work with the customers is that we put a lot of focus on defining the journey, and this is where Craig started to talk about what is the approach, how we do that. So digital journey map approach is the approach how we are starting to unfold those challenges through conversations with different stakeholders. And I say different stakeholders, what is important here, and what you can see here on the slide behind me, business outcomes and line of business. This is the key. The key is that IT is there to enable, to support business outcomes. And when we are doing the transformations, when we think about hybrid cloud, we cannot take only technology approach, technology perspective, and think about how we create fantastic technology platform. It's about how we do that, but having in mind the business outcomes that need to be achieved. And in order to do that, we designed what we call E2CAF, Edge to Cloud Adoption Framework, which consists of 8 different domains, and which basically through the approach that Craig just shared, drives the conversations with different stakeholders in the organization in order to define the journey. And then when we do the first pass, when we do the second pass, then we go in more details of the planning. And another artifact that we usually use in order to visualize, because it's important that everybody understands, speak the same language, is the what we call sub-map map behind me. This is to help you to understand where you are on the journey. And depending on which station you are in the journey is who are the stakeholders with whom you need to talk, what are the topics that you need to focus from the perspective of moving from left to right, from your start to your destination. So saying all that, so Craig and I, we talk a little bit about the theory, and we want to show you how this works really in the practice. And here we are in Barcelona, and what is the better customer that we can have to tell us how this really works in the practice. So we are going to talk about the project SPI Barca and how HP helped partners supported FC Barcelona in this journey. And I'm super happy that today with us, after being on the stage with our CEO, Antonio, we have Miriam Ferrando, who is Chief Information Officer of FC Barcelona. So please, Miriam, join me here, and we are going to have fantastic panel. Thank you. Then I also want to invite Valerie Di Fonseca, who is the Global Sales Director focusing on hybrid cloud solutions. She also living the last 20 years in Barcelona, right? Yeah?
Yes.
And you know Craig.
Said hello to, so.
Yes. So, to start discussion, and Miriam, here we have the people not only from Barcelona, not only from Spain, but from the Europe and broader. Can you please tell us a little bit more what actually a SPI Barcelona project is about? And then again, if you can holistically address not only the IT part, but what this project means for Iconic Club, FC Barcelona, what this means for the broader community, for the city, for the people.
Yeah, so the SPI Barça is not just a club project, so it's a project for the city. We are building a space to keep winning. So winning of opening to the neighborhood and the city, providing greater comfort to our fans and members, and gaining international visibility in the world of sports and entertainment. So it's also a transformative project that includes not only the renovation of the new Spotify Camp Nou, but also the construction of a multi-purpose Palau and the creation of the SPI Barça campus within Les Corts neighborhood in Barcelona. So I would like to share with you some figures, because when it comes to the new Spotify Camp Nou, we can talk about the largest sports complex in the center of the city. Okay, so it's not the largest complex of sports in the city, so that's kind of the difference. And numbers speak for themselves. So I think that you were talking about some numbers, but I can additional ones. But yeah. So 1.5 billion of investment.
Almost
18 hectares of land, but in a central location in a city like Barcelona. The surface to 55,000 square meters. It's like a height of 50 meters. And capacity 105 almost visitors and spectators. And 15,000 connected devices, physical devices. So you can imagine, like more than 1,000 LED and 2 UTVs, 3 giant video scoreboards. So yeah, we are talking about a project for the city, but also it's a challenge for FC Barcelona and for everyone. So yeah.
Thank you. It's amazing project, right? And Valerie, Craig, what do you think? Are you football fans? Because you have the scars, but you got the scars right after the session. Are you actually the fans?
I had to make a small confession to Miriam earlier. I'm from the UK, and so you might expect my my football team.
Come on, Craig.
It's Barcelona. I'm just going to say it's Barcelona. It's Chelsea, but it's Barcelona.
It's Barcelona.
Yeah, and just to be really clear, that $1.5 billion of investment, that's not the cost of PCE. I just want to be absolutely clear with the room that PCE didn't cost $1.5 billion, but yeah. No.
Yeah, I don't like football, by the way. I just like FCB. I'm a fan of Football Club Barcelona. And I have to admit that I was, with that keynote, I was just, shivering. Looking at that was really great. Yeah. And I've been, so you can hear my French accent here, I'm sure, most of you, but I've been living in Spain and in Barcelona for over 20 years now. And when you join that city, you really see that Football Club Barcelona is really a symbol of identity, of culture, and you can really feel that. But it's also a very good contributor in terms of to the economy in Barcelona. Yeah. So that's a real brand, and you cannot miss it when you're here. Whether you like football or not, FCB is part of that city. So when I hear that it's a project for the city, I can really understand that, and I think that everyone will feel it.
And I wanted to add something as well, that it's so difficult in our line of work to impress your children, really difficult. They pretty much don't understand what we do. It's the manifestation of our technology bringing Espai Barça's vision to life. You can be really proud about that, and then you can just say, hey, we helped that environment come to life. It's a very visible thing, so it's very easy to tell my kids what I do now, at last, which is great.
Thanks. Well, I think, Craig, you didn't save ourselves. Valerie's response was much better, much better. Good. So now moving a little bit into the more details from the technology perspective. So in the intro that Craig and I did, it's obviously that all the magic which happens from the perspective of business outcomes, which here in the sports industry is actually how you create fantastic experience for the fans. This is enabled by IT technology. So on the day of the event, of the match, right, there is fantastic complexity what happens behind to enable those experiences for the fans. So can you tell us a little bit more about this IT microcosm which is happening in the background, which again, usually fans are not aware of, but again, for you as CIO of FC Barcelona, this is what you are focused, I guess, not on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. So although we are like laser focused on the new Spotify Camp Nou, FC Barcelona never stops, okay? So yeah, IT is essential, ensuring everything runs smoothly and in the operation days, you know, like it's not only match days, it's no match days, but it's 365 days a year, and our first milestone is the startup of the new Spotify Camp Nou, but you can also have challenges in business, fan experience, then you've got the operational technology, and then you've got the alignment on the digital transformation that the club is happening right now. So you have different challenges, and IT is everywhere, and not only on the match, but it's transparent, but without it, they cannot play, let me say. But yeah, so in the context of Espai Barça, it's a large-scale construction and renovation project, and we've got like several operational aspects that IT makes a role, and construction and design, for example. I'm talking on the context of Espai Barça. So you've got technology, you've got the building information modeling that we're using. You will have the digital twin to optimize, simulate, and track fan experience everywhere, always. We are like laser focused to know our fans and members. Although we know them, you still never know, you know, because you are creating new spaces, commercial purposes, and you need to deliver. So technology in efficiency on the stadium, including security, systems, lighting, energy. So data utilization, it's so important for decision making. Business is asking every day for, where is my report? So they're gonna make decision making, so here you come, technology. And digital transformation. So about what I was saying, our initiatives to the transformative digitalization that we are right now, we are approaching this to our physical technology that we will have, and then connecting this integration. So this is kind of a challenge. So IT is there. So to meet those challenges, we recognize an hybrid strategy approach that matches 100% with the PCE solution. And
she uses our words, so it's, it's funny. It's really our HP, Private Cloud Enterprise Solution. I love it.
PCE solution, and you can get with this approach like full control over your data, and you need your data governance and keeping it in your facilities, and is essential, proximity. Because you need to be where the services you are providing, the place. This closeness also helps minimize latencies because of the application, fan-facing deployments. So I will not end, but yeah, it kind of has an IT role.
Oh, it's great. Yeah,
Maybe if I can add something here, because what's interesting is that from the very beginning, the club, Miriam and the team, they had a vision that was super clear. And they knew what was the end state, but when they were looking at the platform or the infrastructure that they had, obviously it was obviously it won't support the vision. And that's how we started. I think it was like 2 years ago. I can see the account team there. 2 years ago, starting those discussions,
exactly.
Trying to understand the vision, and starting with what exactly you presented. You need to understand the challenges. What is the business problems that you are trying to solve for, and then getting into a conversation where you think of what is the platform that you're looking at, what is the experience that you want, and actually you heard that earlier. We've got a lot of experience in in transforming a stadium into secure, modern, and intelligent venues, and that's how we started that conversation. How you get into a fan experience to really something that goes bigger.
Oh, that's great. And let's double click on this, right? What you both mentioned, this is rethinking the strategies,
exactly.
Evolving the strategy, right? And I guess, Craig, your team helped here.
I think if you look at the, and by the way, you've really reinforced the need for real-time decision-making in the environment, and the reason for proximity and latency is so particularly tied to the kind of experience that you're driving. It makes an awful lot of sense. So the agendas that we laid out in the journey map, I hope you can all think of them as not being static things. They're constantly evolving. Our job when we engage customers at that very earliest stage is, first of all, to try to understand what the vision is behind each agenda, because each agenda has got its own outcome. What's the experience for the fan? How are we going to connect 15,000 devices are connected across that? So how are we going to connect those things? How much data is that going to generate? Trying to understand what the trust principles were. So the first part of the work is really just to try to map on and understand what's the art of the possible, what is the vision that you have, how do we decompose that into those agendas. I hope, so the first thing is that those things are never static, they're always moving. So the nature of that means you're constantly, therefore, looking to continually evolve what those agendas mean. What may have been true 2 years ago at the beginning of a conversation may ultimately change shape throughout the course of a program and a project and a lifetime of the venue. And so think of the framework as something you can use to continually evolve thinking, constantly challenged by how am I driving the experience? What am I delivering for my engineering team? What's my next intelligent part of the stadium that I can unlock to create more revenue or maybe offer different services? And so this is very much, my point here is it's very much not a static thing, although we can use it early in conversations and help shape thinking and certainly demonstrate where other major stadium have also invested in different agendas. So we can use it as inspiration, but it should be something that we continually use through the lifetime of working with customers like FC Barcelona. So hope that helps.
Great start point, yeah, because it helps us formulate the framing of the new while integrating with the existing platform.
Yeah, and the key thing, of course, that all of those agendas are hitting up against each other and causing friction, and that friction is often represented as priority decision-making. So it's a very useful test if you're building your own programs and projects, and maybe not quite the size of SBI Barca, but think about that framework as a way of helping construct your thinking and what goes first.
Great, so strategy is important, but then what's the next step? How we move from strategy and envisioning the strategy into solutionizing?
Yeah, well, I think that's hopefully a little bit of what we showed up on stage. There's some work you can do around envisioning and sort of coming to a consensus about what the future looks like. And then at some point, you've got to move it on into, okay, well now there's technology selections to be made behind each of those agendas, right? And each of those technology selections have now got to be designed to work together. And so you move closer into the section that you touched on there as well. And I'm sort of interested here as well from Valerie. How did the solution end up becoming where it did for Miriam?
So I think that at the beginning, she was more interested about, setting the right operating model. What is the model that we want, for that new experience that we want to bring, for those new revenue streams? So they were really looking at, hey, we've got public cloud providers who want to go in a multi-cloud. We've got the edge. Obviously, you'll have the connectivity that is needed into the stadium. So obviously, that's how they made. I would say that maybe it's been the easiest choice at the beginning, and actually the first decision that they made in the process, which was enabling the stadium with connectivity, the right experience, secure, and they chose HP Aruba for that. But then moving into the operating model is that how do I manage everything from a single operating model, making sure that I will always be able to have the same experience across all my IT estates in a secure way, and also having control about it, because that was key for them. They wanted to keep control, but at the same time, they wanted to keep control from a business perspective, meaning that, hey, we're not an IT company, we're Football Club Barcelona, we need to generate many revenue streams and be able to get the right experience for the fans, but we need you to help us. And very fast in the conversation, it appears that they wanted a turnkey solution. Turnkey solution, meaning that, hey, I don't want to worry about the infrastructure. Can you please build the right solution here with the right software, with the right services, and you manage it for me? I'll make sure that I control my application layer, I control everything that is on top, but I want to make sure that, everything is SLA based. So at the end of the day, it's kind of how do you manage to have the right discussion about their needs, and in terms of availability, of what kind of services that they needed on it, so we could lay the foundation. So that's how we came very naturally towards, she was a fan of HP GreenLake, so we could hear Miriam saying HP GreenLake 10 times a day.
Yeah.
And it moves from HP GreenLake being a fully customized solution to, hey, you know what, maybe let's go into a turnkey solution where you can deliver the experience. I might not have 100% of everything. And when you think of OHP Private Cloud Enterprise, think of that, platform solution to run VMs, bare metal, containers as a service, and like an intelligent layer of infrastructure where you can really manage your application in a very automated fashion, deploy, redeploy, and it's really abstracted for you, depending on the rules that you put. So that's how we got there.
Thanks, Valerie. So this is how we move from the strategy to the solution. And Miriam, you already mentioned PC several times. So from the customer perspective, you as a customer, why private cloud was one right solution? And then why HP Private Cloud Enterprise as the instantiation of this private cloud?
So the club's hybrid strategy, as I said, aligns perfectly with HP's vision, I would say. It's not all going all in on public or public cloud, but maintaining a private cloud environment with on-premises components that can be hybridized, okay? So for us, it was essential to bridge the gap with public cloud environments, and not all workloads can reside in public clouds. So it's critical to find the most effective use case for both economically and technically. But why choosing? So I think that we were connected since the very beginning. We were prioritizing our core foundation because when you are talking about a project like that kind of dimension and the kind of impact, and that kind of responsibility for the city and for members and fans and everywhere worldwide, you need to think about creating a core foundation infrastructure, secure network, wireless, and the the basic, of the infrastructure need to be flexible. Adaptability, it's our prioritizing right now. So when you get done this, then you can scale anything, okay? You can expect business to come and say, okay, I need to generate up to 350 million per year, per season. And you would say, okay, let's do it. And then I've got the co-foundation, I got the proximity, minimizing latency, so I have this infrastructure built on, and then you can move on, because we were prioritizing this. It was the...
And I remember you were saying that, it's funny because you were describing, hey, not everything can go to the public cloud. But at the same time, you say, okay, but HPE, I want exactly the same experience. So bring me the flexibility, bring me the agility, bring me the platform where I will have total control about everything. Make sure that I've got the right economics also, so I can scale up and down easily, depending on the peak periods that we'll have. Your example of the burgers, it's kind of, if I need to scale up and get access. So that was also where we were looking and designing the right approach here based on what she was looking for.
And also, because we didn't have the private, it's new for us, but we knew that we need to be near, the venue. So all the devices that we will have, all the technology need to be close to the stadium and controlled and managing for our own people. And simplicity. So HPE, provides simplicity as well for a platform. So yeah.
And data also was another one, because obviously, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of data is shared within the stadium, and how they can use it to build some new revenue streams, but also in a secure, compliant way. So that was also, how do we make sure that security is built in the solution? So there's no issue there.
There's nothing quite like the sporting industry to really stress test real-time decision-making, I think, yeah.
No, that's fantastic. And hopefully now, to everyone here in the room, it's clear why FC Barcelona decided to go with private cloud, why decided to go with private cloud enterprise from HPE, and how this led us closest to the success. And this is where I want to, again, segue towards the business outcomes, right? Interesting thing about your role of Chief Information Officer is you are successful, people are not talking about IT, right? Because usually when people talk about IT, there is a problem, right? So everything is running smoothly, everything is fantastic, but this actually doesn't mean that your team doesn't do anything, right? Actually, there is a lot of focus and the pressure from the business to your team. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
So our main challenges are acquiring advanced technology to support the fan experiences, creating new spaces, as I said, but also the modernizing our IT environment. So yeah, it's essential for daily operations. And we're talking about that the Clubs Museum is one of the most visited in Spain, like over 1 million visitors each year. So there's a lot, and how we connect and how to be, like the IT role into business and operational, but FC Barcelona knows that we are there, and it's like it never stops, It's all about application, it's match day, it's security, it's devices, controlling data, so reporting, like we are everywhere, and yeah.
Tell us about your, I love, because there's always something that you repeat, at least whenever I saw you and we had those meetings, you're talking about your phygital strategy. I love that. I think you should patent that word.
Yeah, it is.
But can you tell a bit more what you were looking, when you think of your phygital strategy, how you're getting there? I'm sorry, Petra, because I think I was expecting her to get there.
Yeah. And I like this phygital. Phygital is a fantastic word, by the way.
No, so the phygital strategy, it's like connecting the physical with the digital, as I said. It's like the integration of that. So we have now a mission that is connecting both environments, as per se, but it's so important for us to the alignment of this technology that it's projected, okay, to generate, to face those challenges, but with the real, like strategies, because we do have IT strategies right now, and we need to work in progress to arrive at this level. So we are talking about this phygital strategy as connecting both worlds, and yeah, so.
Thanks. And
Crucial role.
talking about the strategy, right? It's a fantastic milestone that now we are going to achieve in Spy Barça project. And you talked about amazing numbers, number of the connected devices, photovoltaics as well.
Yep.
Not to forget the budgets. But then, and please here, Craig and Valerie, if you can chip in, is what's next on the journey? Because the journey does not stop, right? It continues. So what's next?
Well-
200,000 seats.
200,000, yeah. Another 1.5 billion project in 10 years' time to upgrade to 200,000 seats. No, I'm pretty sure that's not true. Well, I think, again, it comes down to a couple of things. It's really where you put the focus on the different agendas. So every single year, there's always a constant need to look back and say, okay, well, are we investing in getting the best outcome from those agendas? I said before that they're not set in stone. They're only moments in time capturing. So what could be next? Well, maybe we put a lot of emphasis on the experience agenda and the digitization agenda. We brought those together. We created this great fan experience. We put some focus on platforms. But now we're generating a huge amount of data. So maybe I want to start stressing on the intelligence agenda and seeing what kind of use cases I might be able to unlock from the amount of data I'm creating. And as you start to unlock those use cases from putting that focus into the intelligence agenda, that's going to start stressing the trust model. Okay, well, what am I doing with that data? Am I creating outcomes that are trusted? Are they the right kind of transparent and ethical outcomes? And then as you over-rotate onto those agendas and start delivering there, then you start saying, well, do I now have insights that I can now play back out into the experience? Can I constantly, therefore, enhance to deliver the next set of services or the next new experience in the stadium? So again, this whole thing is constantly evolving all the time. None of us should ever be sitting there thinking, well, I've made my decision, there it is, set in stone, I'm not moving. And we'll continue to move with Barcelona throughout that as well. Maybe AI might be a trigger for another
That's exactly
conversation,
where I was
Valerie.
going, because for me, when you heard that again this morning, as we move into the AI space and trying to create those use cases, I think you need, obviously, hybrid cloud enables that. Until you don't have that foundation, it's not even, you can't even start thinking of that, because you won't be able, you can have the best ideas of the world. If you don't have that hybrid cloud foundation to support your use cases, nothing will happen. So I think that, and I know that you're already thinking ahead of that, but now that you have that baseline, that foundation that is very well stated, your operating model is super clear, even if it will keep evolving.
Yep.
I think that they can start thinking of, we are already in the stadium of tomorrow, so what will be the stadium in 10, 20 years? What kind of experiences that we want to have? How you will keep connecting the physical with the digital? From home. What is the kind of experience that you will have watching a game and feeling that you're in there, and maybe interaction during a match, even if you're not in the stadium. So I'm sure that it opens a world of possibilities here. And it was in the previous session where, it was from Abbott, the connected car and all the manufacturing industry, where they were saying that all his great ideas started in a bar or in a restaurant on a napkin. So maybe we should start that.
Yeah. So
And the other thing I'd add is the one thing we are finding about digital that seems to be very true is once you start creating that kind of data and insights and that connected stadium, then think beyond the stadium, think beyond Barcelona even, think ecosystem. So how do we then start working with broader sets of partners, maybe partners we hadn't thought about before? Maybe there's ways to integrate other offerings that start to create a cohesion between what it is you're doing, what it may be adjacent industries or adjacent partners are doing. How can you start to share that? And that kind of idea of ecosystem building as part of that digital agenda is also a really key thing, and that could also be part of what comes next beyond what you're doing immediately.
we are excited to look ahead. Okay, so it's not only about the co-foundation that it is, but now that we have all this secure, we are now, looking ahead, thinking about, okay, maybe we should learn by doing, okay? Because it is the unknown. This is incomparable, okay? So I think that anyone here, it's like, okay, I've done this project, okay, let's do it again. No, it's the first time, so we've got all that we want and we need, so we have our partners, and we are like so excited to start. And we can rethink, or we can to know, like, meet in a restaurant and put some paper. But I think that at the end of the day, it's like, okay, let's do the click, okay?
Yep.
And see how it runs.
And this is why it's exciting, right? You're doing something for the first time. You're innovating across the industry, and we are super happy that we as HP can help you, support you on this journey. And the great thing is, I know that SPI Barça has the meeting in Spanish, but if you want to focus on AI, you just add dot before AI, and you have the same name, right? And focusing in next phase on AI. So forward-looking, good. And then we talk about time. If you go back a few years when you started to think about this Miriam, right? How did success look like then? Because as you said, you started something that was actually unknown, right? Nobody did this before. So how did success look like when you started this journey?
Then before.
Then before, yeah.
How it looked like to me, the success.
Yeah.
So that's a trick question. Because
like exactly
we wouldn't
right.
have started, but success always. But it was all rethinking, and we were like, okay, maybe we do need to change things. New business model was being developed, okay? You can feel things were happening, because it's not like a project of like a year, We've been like too many years, like thinking and like doing. But yeah, it not was only rethinking. It was like we need to get to know new technologies, okay? We are used to, all is running smoothly, okay? We innovate, okay, but we're a club. So we play football, we need to score, and then, it's okay, and then, but yeah, you need to look forward, and we were like benchmarking, like seeking for emerging technologies that could accommodate, okay, with front-facing new applications, like let's look ahead in the success that we will need to have, because we need to deliver excellence from day one. So we need to do kind of different things. But yeah, here we are.
No, that's really fantastic. And on this journey now, and Craig and Valerie also talked about the importance of partners, right? So you selected, and we are super happy, HP as a partner. How do you see the advantages of HP solutions which help you on that journey, which help you to score from the IT perspective?
So in the journey, you're meaning?
On solutions, so again, how do you see?
Yeah,
you already
so
talked
we
a little bit about that,
can
but
highlight more advantages of the PCE solution. So PCE solution has flexibility and adaptability that I was saying so important and so essential and crucial. You can scale quickly when needed, enabling the rapid deployment. Simplicity, transparent for us, okay? You can have the high availability. We will have 2 CPDs, so you need a solution between 2 data centers and reducing business impact, okay? You don't want this. And FinOps, accurate strategy. You need to put this on a paper, You always need this accurate strategy based on FinOps, and PCE solution has it. And pay-per-use, so you can have a fee base, 80% of the capacity acquired. So these are kind of the highlights of the advantages, but we can highlight as well Aruba. Aruba will play a crucial role in connectivity. So you need those 1,000 or 5,000 people connected simultaneously. So communication infrastructures within the stadiums are, like mandatory to us. And not only because of the fans, but general operations. 5G, for example, you need to work with connectivity and 5G. You need to get them work together. So this is another challenge, okay? And reliability. This will enable successful delivery of the Espai Barça digital transformation and technological demands. So, yeah.
Fantastic, and thank you. Valerie, anything to add to that
She
list?
did it perfectly. What can I add to that? Just kind of, no, just looking forward to, to seeing it. Now
Good,
I think
good.
it's more seeing
Good,
the
good.
connection
No,
and,
really,
with the
thank
new
you.
stadium and be there and living the experience as a fan. is,
Good, good,
what I
good.
would say.
And now we need to start wrap up. It's again a fantastic topic. Craig, from your perspective, right? You started that journey with Espai Barça, and now we talked about all the evolution. Has the thing changed from your perspective?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when we first started talking about intelligent venues, as you maybe saw in the video with Antonio and Miriam, we do this kind of work all over the world. So I guess we're becoming quite famous as a company for helping to put intelligent venues together. And so, right at the beginning, it's about sharing best practices, sharing insights, what's worked before, what's worked well. What kind of challenges have we overcome before and how we help deliver new services? And then it quickly pivots into, okay, well, what's the vision for Espai Barça? That'll be quite unique and different in certain areas. And then it's about staying with the customer and our long-term partner now over time. We continue to evolve that journey. So I'm looking forward to the constant evolution, actually, going forward.
Thank you. And final question for you, Miriam, right? From everything that we talked about for the last 30-something minutes, it's obvious that this is a fantastic project, huge undertaking. And for you personally, what it meant? Was it a burden? There were for sure fantastic moments, there were difficult moments. Your personal reflection on this fantastic project.
Yeah, these days I'm thinking like kind of a sentence that it matches. It's not the destination, it's the journey. So although we are excited to see the day, but the journey that we've been through, it's amazing. So it's part of our learnings as an organization, as an IT team. I'm proud of my IT team. We've been like fighting every day, and we are still fighting, but it's a sweet fighting, okay? And although if you have, if you have partners like this, so it's like an easy way to do things, and the confidence that you get. So to me, I often like to compare it like it to a Halley's Comet. So here's the destination, Halley's Comet, but here's the comparison because last year I was in the Green Lake Day that I was like kind of discovering, what is the hybrid Green Lake. I think that it's like a year or a year and a half ago. And yeah, to me it's like incomparable. Like you never know how you're gonna see Halley's Comet, but when you see it, it's like one of a time, like one of a truly project to me and to all my team. So yeah, it's everything. So I'm a Barcelonian citizen. I'm born here, so I'm a Barca fan, supporter since I was little. And yeah, to me it's like everything, so keep going.
Thank you. What a better way to finish this great panel than talking about Halley Comet. So big applause to the panelists. Thank you. Please, thank you. And then we are just on time to wrap up this session. First of all, thank you for being here. It's the end of the day first, packed with different events. Again, through a little bit of theory in the beginning from Craig and me, and then really the practice from the Espai Barça projects. Hopefully, You now understand what is HP approach, how we help and support our customers in journeys, how to modernize hybrid clouds, and how make the magic. And here we saw what magic means for the sports industry and creating the unique experience, first time innovating with Stadium as Espai Barça. It's about solutions, great products, great services, and we as HP are here to help you on that journey. So, for those who want to learn more, there is more tomorrow. A lot of those things which you can see here on the slides, you are going to be able to see and talk more with Craig tomorrow. So he is having actually 2 events, Meet the Experts, 301, 337, and also there is the demo where you can talk with Craig 309. Also, on top of that, sustainability is a fantastic component of what Espai Barça wants to achieve. We have some great sessions tomorrow on sustainability and some demos, so please visit those as well. And then, for those who want to read more about thought leadership, we have also HP Thought Leadership Magazine, the Doppler, and funny enough, Craig again has leading article in that as well. So please, here you can scan this QR code, and then you get the access to several fantastic thought leadership pieces there. And then finally, what I need to say, so that Kimberly doesn't say that I missed something, is please scan this QR code as well, and please give the feedback on the survey. Thank you for staying with us. I know it's late. However, the dinner doesn't start early in Spain, so we need to accommodate. Big thank you, and hopefully you learned something, and big thank you to Miriam for being with us on the stage. Thanks.